In 100 before Common Era, a Han Dynasty agronomist named Fan Shengji wrote the world's first agricultural science textbook. His flagship irrigation method required no pipes, no pumps, no electricity, and no maintenance. It only needed refilling once per week for an entire harvest season. His book was lost for over 1,000 years. The method it described was independently rediscovered by 6 civilizations on 4 continents. Then, in 1965, it disappeared again. This time, it was not lost by accident. Someone buried it on purpose. And that someone had 7 billion reasons to do it. Right now, the irrigation industry tells you that precision watering means plastic tubing, that pressure filters, and emitter replacements. The average gardener in Zone 6 through Zone 9 spends between $700 and $2,000 over 10 years, keeping that system alive. Meanwhile, the Hohokam people of present-day Arizona sustained thriving agriculture in one of Earth's most brutal desert climates for over 1,000 years. No pipes, no timers, no monthly maintenance. They used unglazed clay pots buried in the earth. The total cost was $7. The system lasted a lifetime. Modern gardeners are paying a subscription fee to do something worse. In 1965, a company called Netafim was founded in Israel. They commercialized drip irrigation and built something the agriculture world had never seen before, a recurring revenue model disguised as garden infrastructure. The business model is elegant in its ruthlessness. Plastic emitters clog, and you replace them. Ultraviolet exposure degrades tubing, and you replace it. Pressure filters fill, and you service them. New product lines launch every 3 years, and you upgrade. There is no endpoint. There is no paid in full. It is a subscription you never agreed to sign. The business model is simple. If a $7 clay pot waters your garden automatically, uses 97% less water, and never wears out, you never buy a replacement part again. Netafim, Rainbird, Toro lose billions in recurring revenue every single year. So by the 1970s, drip irrigation companies had funded agricultural university extension programs across America. And olla irrigation, the buried clay pot, was quietly reclassified in official United States Department of Agriculture literature as a primitive historical curiosity. Not because the science failed, because the science worked too well. His name was Fan Shengji. He was a government agronomist serving the Han Dynasty in China around 100 before Common Era. The document he left behind, the Fan Shengji Shu, is considered by historians the oldest surviving agricultural treatise ever written. Not the oldest in Asia, the oldest anywhere. What makes it remarkable is not just its age, it is the precision. Fan Shengju did not write in generalities, he wrote in specifications. His instructions for buried jar irrigation read, make 530 pits per hectare. Bury an earthen jar holding 6 liters in the center of each pit. Let the jar mouth be level with the ground. Fill the jar with water. Those instructions are technically valid today. A soil physicist reading them in 2024 would find nothing to correct. The book was eventually lost in the 11th century Anno Domini, surviving only in fragments preserved inside later agricultural compilations. The knowledge scattered, but the physics did not disappear, because on the other side of the world, the Hohokam people of present-day Arizona had arrived at the same solution entirely independently. Built buried pot networks across the Sonoran Desert and sustained agricultural communities for over 1,000 years in a climate that receives less than 8 inches of rain per year. When Spanish colonists arrived in the 1500s, they did not find struggling subsistence farmers. They found thriving, organized civilization. In Mesopotamia, Archaeologists recovered buried irrigation vessels from ancient Iraq dating back thousands of years. Roman and Persian farmers used the same method across Mediterranean arid zones, North Africa, India, Central America. 6 civilizations, 4 continents, all arriving at identical physics through independent observation. That is not folklore. That is engineering. Here is exactly how to implement this in your Zone 6 through Zone 9 garden using materials that cost less than a cup of coffee. Step 1. Select your pot. You need one unglazed terracotta pot, any size. Any garden center carries them. The critical word is unglazed, never sealed on the outside, never painted. The entire mechanism depends on the microscopic pores in raw-fired clay. When soil moisture tension is high, meaning the soil is dry and roots are thirsty, those pores allow water molecules to pass through the wall. When soil is saturated after rain, tension drops and seepage stops automatically. The pot is not just a container, it is a sensor. A glazed pot is a sealed bucket. It does nothing. Step 2. Seal the drainage hole. The floor of the pot must be watertight so that water exits only through the porous walls, driven by soil demand, not gravity. A wine cork fits most standard drainage holes. Food-grade silicone sealant works for any size. You almost certainly have one of these at home right now. This is the only modification this ancient technology requires. Step 3. Dig and bury. Dig a hole slightly deeper and wider than the pot. Set it in so the rim sits just above the soil line. This prevents surface debris and dirt from washing back in during rain. Pack the soil firmly against the clay walls. That direct soil-to-clay contact is not optional. It is what activates the capillary system. An air gap between the pot and surrounding soil breaks the physics entirely. Step 4. Cover and plant. Place a flat stone or a matching terracotta saucer on top as a lid. This does 3 things. It prevents surface evaporation from the open mouth. It keeps debris and insects out. And it stops standing water from becoming a mosquito habitat. Now plant your seedlings in a circle around the pot perimeter. Tomatoes, peppers, melons, cucumbers, eggplant, squash. Within days, roots will detect the moisture source and grow toward the clay surface, forming a dense feeding mat. The plant is not being watered. The plant is drinking. Step 5. Fill and monitor by zone. In Zone 6, Mid-Atlantic and Midwest, check and refill every 7 to 10 days during peak summer. Zone 7, Virginia, North Carolina, Tennessee, Oklahoma, every 5 to 7 days. Zone 8, Texas, Georgia, the Pacific Northwest coast, every 4 to 5 days. Zone 9, California's Central Valley, Arizona, Florida, every 3 to 4 days in extreme heat. When you check it, if the water level is still high, do not refill. The soil has not requested more. The pot already knew. That self-regulating response, soil tension rising and falling with actual plant need, is something no plastic emitter, no smart timer, and no app has ever replicated with the same zero-energy precision. 1 pot, 5 steps, no electricity, no replacement parts, no service contract. The same system Fan Shengju documented 2,100 years ago is ready to run in your garden this season. Here is the question worth asking. If a 2013 peer study published in the Journal of Natural Sciences research confirmed that olla irrigation saves 97.1% of water compared to conventional methods, and if University of California Riverside researcher David Bainbridge documented that it outperforms standard drip irrigation by 61%, why does the United States Department of Agriculture publish zero guidance on it for home gardeners today? The answer is not scientific, it is structural. Between 1965 and the mid-1970s, Netafim and the emerging drip irrigation industry funded agricultural extension programs at American universities. Textbooks were rewritten, extension bulletins shifted entirely to drip and sprinkler guidance. Olla irrigation was not banned by law. It was banned by language. It was reclassified as a perishable artifact unsuitable for modern agriculture. Not disproven, not tested and found lacking. Buried under a word, primitive. You cannot patent an unglazed clay pot. You cannot charge annual maintenance fees on capillary physics. You cannot build a $10 billion recurring revenue empire on a technique the earth performs for free. That is the only reason this knowledge was suppressed. And it remains suppressed today. As of 2024, the drip irrigation market is valued at $10.5 billion and growing at 11% per year. Olla irrigation is absent from every major gardening certification program in the United States. The United States Department of Agriculture has published no guidance. The silence is not an oversight. It is a business decision that gets renewed every single year. This is not just a watering technique. It is an act of sovereignty. Your garden does not require a supply chain, a subscription, or a corporation's permission to survive a drought. This summer, when water restrictions hit Zone 8 and Zone 9, when your neighbors are hauling hoses in 100-degree heat and watching their tomatoes split, your garden will be watered. Automatically, by the same physics that fed the Hohokam through 1,000 years of Sonoran desert summers. When food prices double next year, you will not panic. You will be harvesting. That is real wealth. Fan Shengji wrote these instructions 2,100 years ago. The Hohokam built a civilization on them. The only thing standing between you and this knowledge was a $7 billion industry and a decades-long silence. Now you know, and knowledge they cannot take. Share this with someone who still believes the garden center is their only option. The drip irrigation industry is worth $10 billion, built entirely on a product that clogs, degrades, and requires replacing every few years. A berry clay pot that outperforms it has existed for 4,000 years and costs $7. Why do you think this was never taught in schools? Drop your zone and your theory in the comments.